When people talk about the war in Ukraine, they usually focus on the soldiers. But behind every successful operation is something just as important: the weapons. Some barely made an impact, while others completely changed the way Russia had to fight. Throughout this war, we've seen everything from drones and anti-tank missiles to long-range precision strike systems reshape the battlefield in very different ways. In this video, we're counting down 10 the most effective weapons Ukraine has used throughout the war, and we'll explain what makes each one so important on the battlefield. Let's get started. Number 10. Bayraktar TB2. At the beginning of the war, one weapon kept making headlines: the Bayraktar TB2. This Turkish-made drone gave Ukraine an effective way to locate and strike Russian targets without putting pilots at risk. During the early months of the invasion, it became one of Ukraine's most valuable assets, targeting armored vehicles, air defense systems, and supply convoys with impressive precision. The drone could stay airborne for extended periods, providing both reconnaissance and precision strike capabilities in a single platform. Its success, however, didn't last forever, as Russia expanded its electronic warfare capabilities and deployed more advanced air defense systems. Operating the TB2 became increasingly difficult. The drone's limited self-protection made it far more vulnerable than it had been during the opening phase of the war. Even so, its contribution shouldn't be underestimated. The Bayraktar TB2 helped slow Russia's early advance and demonstrate just how effective armed drones could be in modern warfare. But while drones dominated the sky, Ukraine also needed an affordable weapon capable of stopping armored vehicles from the ground. Number 9. Stukna P anti-tank missile. One of Ukraine's most effective domestically developed anti-tank weapons. While it doesn't receive as much attention internationally, this missile became an important part of Ukraine's defensive strategy by allowing small infantry teams to take on much larger armor formations. The Stukna P fires a tandem charge-hit warhead guided by a laser beam, giving it the ability to engage heavily armored vehicles at distances of up to 5.5 kilometers. But what really makes it stand out is its remote control system. Operators can control the launchers from up to 50 meters away, allowing them to remain safely inside cover while the launcher stays exposed. That extra layer of protection significantly improves crew survivability, especially during ambush where revealing your position can be extremely dangerous. Although the system requires a clear line of sight to the target, it proved to be a reliable and cost-effective way to slow Russian armor advance throughout the conflict. Number 8. Leopard 2A6 main battle tank. The Leopard 2A6 gave Ukraine exactly that. As one of the most capable main battle tanks supplied by Western allies, it offered a major improvement in both protection and firepower compared to many of the Soviet-era tanks already in service. At its core, it's the Rheinmetall 120mm L55 smoothbore gun, supported by an advanced fire control system that allows crews to engage enemy armor with a high probability of hitting the target on the first shot. Power comes from a 1,500 horsepower MTU diesel engine, giving the tank excellent mobility despite its size. Its multi-layer composite armor helped crews survive direct hits that might have destroyed older tanks, preserving experienced personnel who are often even harder to replace than the vehicles themselves. Of course, weighing more than 26 tons does limit when the tanks can operate. Even so, its combination of survivability, firepower, and mobility made it one of Ukraine's most valuable armor assets. While the Leopard dominated on the ground, the next system focused on protecting the skies. Number 7. Patriot PAC-3 Air Defense System. Winning a war isn't just about attacking enemy forces. It's also about protecting your own cities, military bases, and critical infrastructure. That's exactly when the Patriot PAC-3 become one of Ukraine's most important defensive systems. Using its AN/MPQ-65 phased array radar, Patriot can track multiple incoming threats at the same time. Before launching PAC-3 missile segment enhancement, interceptors designed to destroy them through direct impact rather than relying solely on explosive fragmentation. This capability allows Ukraine to intercept a wide range of Russian cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, including advanced weapons such as the Kh-47 M2 Kinzhal, by protecting command centers, energy infrastructure, and major population centers. Patriot reduced the effectiveness of Russia's long-range strike campaigns. The system isn't perfect. Each interceptor is expensive, and every battery carries only a limited number of ready-to-fire missiles. Even so, Patriot has proven that modern air defense can dramatically change the balance of a conflict by denying an opponent the freedom to strike from long range. While Patriot secured the skies, Ukraine also found an innovative way to challenge Russia at sea. Number 6. Megura V5 Naval Drone. Ukraine entered the war without a conventional blue water navy capable of matching Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Instead of trying to compete ship for ship, it chose a very different approach. The Megura V5 is an unmanned surface drone designed to carry a large explosive payload while remaining difficult to detect. Its low-profile hull, satellite communications, and remote operations allow it to travel long distance before striking enemy ships with remarkable precision. Rather than operating alone, these drones are often deployed in coordinate attacks, overwhelming larger warships that were originally designed to defend against traditional naval threats. Several Russian patrol vessels, landing ships, and other naval assets were damaged or destroyed using these tactics. The growing threat forced much of Russia's Black Sea Fleet to operate farther from Ukraine's coastline, reducing its ability to maintain pressure in the region and weakening the naval blockade. Like many unmanned systems, the Megura V5 still depends heavily on reliable satellite communication, making it vulnerable if those links are disrupted. Even so, it demonstrated how relatively inexpensive technology can challenge a much larger and more powerful fleet. Speaking of affordable weapons that transform the battlefield, the next system become one of the defining symbols of modern warfare. Before we continue with the top 5, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy straightforward military content like this, and let us know in the comments which these weapons do you think had the biggest impact on the battlefield so far. Number 5. FPV Kamikaze Drone. If there's one weapon that completely changed combat and the front line, it's the FPV Kamikaze Drone. Unlike larger military drones that are expensive and limited in number, these small first-person view drones are relatively cheap, easy to produce, and can be deployed in massive numbers. Most FPV drones are equipped with modified anti-tank warheads, allowing them to strike vulnerable areas on tanks, armored vehicles, artillery positions, and even individual defensive positions. Guided through a live video feed, operators can make last-second adjustments before impact, giving these drones an impressive level of accuracy despite their low cost. Their biggest advantage isn't just precision, it's flexibility. FPV drones can quickly respond to targets of opportunity, making it extremely difficult for enemy vehicles to move safely anywhere near the front line. As production increases, they also help compensate of Ukraine's limited artillery ammunition by providing a constant stream of precision attacks throughout the battlefield. Their short flight times and vulnerability to electronic jamming remain important limitations, FPV drones have become one of the defining weapons of modern warfare. While they dominate close-range combat, the next weapon proved that Ukraine could also threaten some of Russia's most valuable naval assets. Number 4. R-360 Neptune Anti-Ship Missile. This anti-ship missile was originally designed to defend the country's coastline against hostile surface vessels. It didn't take long before it demonstrated exactly what it was capable of. Powered by a turbojet engine and guided by an active radar seeker during the final stage of flight, the Neptune flies just above the sea surface, making it much harder for enemy radar systems to detect and intercept. That low-altitude flight profile significantly increased its chance to reaching the target. The missile gained worldwide attention after being used to sink the Russian cruiser Moskva, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Beyond the symbolic value, the loss forced Russia to consider how it deployed major surface warships near Ukraine's coastline, reducing the threat of large-scale amphibious operations. Also, the Neptune was designed specifically for maritime targets. Its battlefield impact extended far beyond a single ship. It reshaped naval operation in the Black Sea and demonstrated that even a much smaller navy could challenge a more powerful opponent with the right weapon. But Ukraine's ability to strike valuable targets didn't stop at sea. Number 3. Storm Shadow Cruise Missile. As the war evolved, Ukraine needed a way to reach targets located far behind the front line. That's exactly when the Storm Shadow cruise missile became one of its most valuable long-range strike capabilities. Launched from modified Su-24M aircraft, Storm Shadow is designed to fly at very low altitude, following the terrain to reduce the chance of being detected by enemy radar. Once it reaches its target, its broach warhead uses a two-stage design that allows it to penetrate reinforced structure before detonating, making it highly effective against hardened military facilities. This capability allows Ukraine to strike command centers, logistics hubs, naval infrastructure, and other high-value targets that had previously been difficult to reach. By threatening critical facilities deep inside contest territory, Storm Shadow forced Russia to strengthen rear area defense and threatening the placement of important military assets. Its effectiveness does depend on suitable launch aircraft and careful mission planning, limiting how often it can be used. Even so, it significantly expands Ukraine's long-range strike option. But while Storm Shadow arrives from the air, the next weapon reaches its target much faster from the ground. Number 2. MTM-140 ATACMS. The MTM-140 ATACMS gave Ukraine another way to strike targets far beyond the front line, but this time using a ground-launched ballistic missile. Fired from mobile launchers, ATACMS climbs to high altitude before descending toward its target at very high speed, making interception far more difficult than many conventional missiles. Using GPS-aided inertial navigation, it delivers precision strikes against military airfield, logistics centers, command posts, and other high-value infrastructure located hundreds of kilometers away. Some variants also carry cluster munition, allowing a single missile to cover a much larger area against dispersed military targets. The introduction of ATACMS forced Russia to move aircraft, ammunition stockpiles, and other critical assets further from the battlefield, increasing the time and effort required to support frontline operation. That ability to hold strategic targets at risk made ATACMS one of Ukraine's most influential long-range weapons. But one system consistently delivered similar effects while being used on much larger scale. Number 1. M142 HIMARS. Taking the top spot is the M142 HIMARS, a weapon system that fundamentally changed the way Russia had to operate throughout the war. Unlike traditional rocket artillery, HIMARS combines long-range precision with exceptional mobility. Armed with GPS-guided GMLRS rockets, it can accurately strike munitions depots, command posts, logistics hubs, and key bridges from tens of miles away. More importantly, it can launch its rockets and quickly relocates before enemy forces have time to respond, making counterattacks extremely difficult. Instead of focusing solely on destroying frontline units, HIMARS targeted the support networks that kept those forces operating. Repeat strike against supply depots and transportation routes forced Russia to move ammunition, fuel, and command facilities further from the front. Its combination of precision, mobility, and operational impact makes HIMARS more than just another rocket launcher. It changed how the battlefield was fought by disrupting the system that supports Russia's military campaigns. That's why it remains the most influential weapon Ukraine has fielded during the war. Those are our picks for the 10 Ukrainian weapons that had the biggest impact during the Russia-Ukraine war. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notification for more military content every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.